For today's reading lesson, we're going to be talking about reading a table. A table is when you have a group of information or facts that are listed or collected and written down in such a way that it has all of the information categorized for you and organized. And that way you don't have to read it in paragraph form. It'll save you time because you can scan a table much quicker than you can, say, a paragraph of information that's written down. We've seen tables before in our textbooks, math, science, a lot of history, that you use tables almost every day. Even using a calendar is using a table. So all of us have quite a bit of experience with using tables. We've also had several exercises already this year where we're using tables, but we want to practice it as often as we can because every table looks a little different because it's presenting a different set of information. So it's good to practice with several different tables. Okay, so what do you think is the first thing you would do when looking at a table? Well, you want to start by looking at the title. And I know you guys probably can't, I'm moving that every time I move my book, that you probably can't see that title very well. So let me take this a little closer, this way. Okay, and the title of this particular table is called State Facts. And you can take a look at the information that's displayed on this table about U.S. states. So which state has the largest area? So if I want to find that, I'm going to go to the second column, area, and I see that these numbers are not listed numerically smallest to largest. The states were listed alphabetically. But in this case, the very first state at the top has the largest area, Alaska, 586,412 square feet, or excuse me, square miles. That's a pretty big area. So which state has the second largest area? So if I look through my numbers there in that second column, I'll see the very second state is California, and it has the second largest area as well. But look how much smaller it is in area than Alaska. That's a huge difference, but yet look how much bigger it is than, say, Delaware. So the smallest area of all is the third state, Delaware. That was coincidental that they were listed as 1, 2, and smallest because they're listed alphabetically by their state name. Okay, now which state has the largest population? So I'm going to look under the column marked population, and I want to find the biggest number. And I see the biggest number is California. It has 33,871,000 plus people when this particular chart was made, which was 2002. So it's probably gotten larger since then. Which state is the second largest in population? So if I'm looking at my numbers for population, the second largest looks to be New York. It's a close race between Florida and New York, but New York is the second. So it has a population of almost 19 million. It's probably exceeded 19 million by now, since that was 2002. Which state has the smallest population? So if I look through all of those numbers, I'll see the very bottom state, Wyoming, has the smallest population and has less than 500,000 people. It might have 500,000 by now. All right, the next set of information we want to analyze or kind of take a closer look at is which state has the greatest number of persons per square mile. That means if I were to measure a mile, how many people will be living in that square mile? And this is an average, of course, of the whole state. So the one that has the most, there's only one state that's in the thousands, and that's New Jersey. It has 1,074 people in 1 square mile. That's a pretty tight living quarters number there. That means that it has a lot of people in a square mile. Contrast that with Alaska, and there's only 1 person per square mile in Alaska. Now, you know that there's towns and cities in Alaska where there's going to be a larger concentration of people, but they are averaging that over the entire States area. All right, the next set of information we want to look at, which state was the first to be admitted to the Union? So I'm going to look at this next to the last column, and I want to see the number that is the lowest, because that would be the earliest year that states were admitted to the Union. So I'm saying 1787 on a couple of different states. So New Jersey and Delaware were both admitted in 1787. But if I look at my last column, it numbers in order of when they entered the Union. So the first one was Delaware, and then the second one isn't even on this particular chart, but the third one is, and that was New Jersey. So I can tell by reading my chart which state was the first to enter the United States of America when they were first ratifying the states. At that time there were 13 colonies, and they were becoming states. They did not all become states at the same time. So this particular chart table is giving us information about some of the 50 states of America. Now look in your textbook. No, not the textbook. The work text on pages 232 and 233. And you're going to see a table on page 232, and then questions about that table on 233. So the first thing I want to do is analyze, what is this table talking about? And my title of my table is Early National Endeavors. So it gives me an event, the date it occurred, what nations were involved, and the outcome. So utilizing this information, I'm going to answer the questions here. So once you have finished answering these questions, you're going to take a picture of just page 233. I don't need to have a picture of this, right? Because it doesn't have any answers on it. Just this one, and then submit that in the attach button for today's lesson.